In this video we're going to demonstrate the optional feature pack for version 10 that allows you to embed a grid component into a form so that you can use grid components in a desktop application. So you can see here we have a simple form that is based on the Alpha Sports customer table, and we're going to go now and embed a grid component into this form that shows all of the invoices for the current customer. So first let's go over to look at the grid components here that we've designed. So here's the invoices grid. So you can see here we have a grid that's based on the invoice header table from Alpha Sports. And if I go into working preview, you can see that we have a row expander for this grid that is showing the invoice items for the current invoice header. So now let's go back to this form, go into design mode, and then you'll see we'll access the super control tool from the toolbox. So let's go here and now draw an area on the form where we'd like our embedded grid to appear. So we'll choose the embedded grid component super control, and now let's go to my list of grid components and choose the invoices grid, and now let's link that to the current record that's displayed in the form. So we can go here and we'll say we want to link on customer ID, matches customer ID, and then click OK. So in addition to linking, you can also filter. Linking and filtering are similar in that both of them filter the grid. The difference being that when you link, you specify a field in the parent grid, a field in the parent form that matches a field in the grid component, and then when you enter a new record into the grid, the value from the matching field in the form is automatically filled into the matching field in the grid, so that the record that gets added is a child of the records shown in the grid. So so we'll just link on the matching customer ID field over there, and then you can see that the font size is set to smaller. The choices are smallest, smaller, medium, larger, and largest. We choose smaller because that's going to display the grid using a font size that's going to be consistent with the default font size for a form. But of course you can choose any value that you want over here. And then finally we can specify what the background color is for the grid. So this is going to use the color that the grid itself was defined to use based on the grid style sheet. But in order to make the grid blend in really nicely into the form, we're going to specify that we want to use the form color, and that'll cause the grid to have the same background color as the form. Now keep in mind that a form can support a gradient background, whereas HTML doesn't have that as a native facility. So if we had a gradient background on the form, even though we were using form color here, the grid would not blend in perfectly into the form. So what we've done on this form is turn off the gradient background. So you can see if I go here to the form properties here, if I go to the backdrop, we still have the gradient turned on, but the gradient starting value and ending value are the same, which in effect is giving the form a solid background. So there's the form now with the embedded grid component, and let's go ahead now and run that. So let's go to the first record. Let's go. So as we navigate through the data, you can see that for each customer we get to see the invoices, and if we get to a particular customer that has invoices, we can expand the row expander over there. So you can see that adding a grid component to a form was very easy, and it adds a great deal of richness to the form. Thank you very much.